One sentence, 7 words. And an actor's entire understanding of his craft shattered in an instant. October 2003. Burbank, California. A soundstage that feels more like a cathedral than a workspace. The kind of silence that makes breathing feel intrusive. Clint Eastwood sits behind the monitor watching a young actor named Philippe struggle through take 17 of the same scene. Mystic River. The scene where Jimmy Markham's daughter has been murdered, and he's supposed to collapse with grief. But something isn't working. Something fundamental. Ryan is giving everything he has. He's crying, screaming, falling to his knees. His face is contorted with pain. Every muscle in his body is engaged. He's doing what every acting teacher told him to do. He's showing the emotion. He's demonstrating the grief. He's performing devastation, and it's completely wrong. Clint doesn't say anything during the takes. He just watches with that unreadable expression, that face that's seen everything and judges nothing. The crew can feel the tension building. 17 takes is unusual for Clint. He's famous for moving fast, for trusting actors, for rarely going past take 3. But here they are on take 17, and Ryan knows he's failing. He can feel it. Everyone can feel it. When Clint finally calls cut, Ryan stands there sweating, exhausted, humiliated. He's a good actor. He's been in successful films. He knows what he's doing. But somehow, in front of Clint Eastwood, in front of this legend who barely speaks, he's coming apart. He's trying too hard, overcompensating, and the harder he tries, the worse it gets. Clint walks over slowly. No hurry. Never any hurry with Clint. He stops about 3 feet away and just looks at Ryan for a moment. The silence stretches. Ryan wants to apologize, wants to explain, wants to promise he'll do better. But something in Clint's eyes tells him to wait, to be quiet, to listen. Then Clint says it, 7 words that will haunt Philippe for the rest of his career. You're not sad enough to be quiet, that's all. 7 words. Then Clint walks back to the monitor. No explanation, no elaboration, no coaching. Just those 7 words hanging in the air like a riddle Ryan has exactly 1 more take to solve. Ryan stands there trying to understand. You're not sad enough to be quiet. What does that mean? He's been crying, screaming, showing everything. How is that not enough? Then slowly, like fog lifting, he begins to understand. Real grief isn't loud. Real devastation doesn't perform. When you lose everything, when the worst thing imaginable happens, you don't have the energy to scream. You barely have the energy to breathe. He thinks about the funerals he's attended. The truly broken people weren't the ones wailing. They were the ones sitting in silence, staring at nothing, so far inside their pain that the outside world ceased to exist. They were the ones who couldn't cry because tears required a level of presence they no longer possessed. They were the quiet ones, the empty ones, the ones who had gone somewhere the rest of us couldn't follow. Clint calls for 1 more take. The crew resets. Ryan takes his position. But this time he doesn't prepare. He doesn't rev himself up. He doesn't think about his motivation or his emotional memory or any of the techniques he learned in acting class. He just empties himself. He lets everything drain away until there's nothing left but silence. Clint calls action. Ryan hears his daughter is dead, and he doesn't scream. He doesn't fall to his knees. He just stops. Everything stops. His breathing, his movement, his face. He becomes utterly still. His eyes are open, but he's not seeing anything. He's somewhere else, somewhere dark and far away, somewhere you go when the world ends. The silence stretches for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15. The crew is holding their breath. No one moves. No one makes a sound, because they're watching something real, something true, something devastating. Then slowly, almost imperceptibly, Ryan's face begins to crumble. Not with crying, not with screaming. Just a small tremor in his jaw, a slight tightening around his eyes. The face of a man who has just realized he will carry this pain until the day he dies. That there is no coming back from this. That he is fundamentally broken and will remain broken forever. Clint watches for a few more seconds. Then quietly, almost gently, he says, "Cut." The scene is done. Ryan stands there, still in that empty place, still devastated, still quiet. Clint walks over, puts a hand on his shoulder for just a moment, and says, "That's it. Thank you." Ryan doesn't speak. Can't speak, because he's just been somewhere he's never been before. Somewhere Clint Eastwood led him with 7 words. He's just learned that acting isn't about showing, it's about being, and sometimes being means being nothing at all. Just silence, just emptiness, just the quiet devastation of a man who has lost everything. The crew breaks for lunch, but Ryan doesn't move. He sits on an apple box in the corner of the soundstage, trying to process what just happened. He thought he understood acting. He thought he knew what he was doing. But Clint Eastwood just showed him that everything he learned was wrong. Or not wrong exactly. Just incomplete. Surface level. Performative. Later that day, Sean Penn, who plays Jimmy Markham, finds Ryan sitting alone. Sean has been watching the whole thing. He's been working with Clint for weeks now, and he understands what Ryan is going through. The education of working with Clint Eastwood, the way he strips everything down to truth, the way he demands authenticity without ever raising his voice. Sean sits down next to Ryan. Doesn't say anything at first, just sits. After a few minutes, Ryan speaks. "I don't know how to do this." His voice is quiet, uncertain. "I don't know how to act like that, like nothing, like silence." Sean considers this. "You're not acting like nothing. You're removing everything that isn't real, everything that's performance, everything that's ego. You're getting out of the way and letting the truth exist. That's what Clint does. That's what he teaches. Not how to act better, how to act less." Ryan shakes his head. "Every acting teacher I've ever had told me to do more emotion, more intensity, more presence. And Clint is telling me to do less, to be quiet, to disappear." "No," Sean says. "He's not telling you to disappear. He's telling you to stop hiding. All that crying and screaming and performing, that's hiding. That's you protecting yourself from actually feeling it. Real emotion is quiet because it's overwhelming. It consumes everything. There's nothing left for performance." Ryan thinks about this, about the takes where he was crying and screaming, about how in some way he was in control. He was managing the emotion, parceling it out, showing it to the camera. He was never actually overwhelmed, never actually lost. He was always the actor playing devastation. He was never the man being devastated. "How do you do it?" Ryan asks. "How do you let yourself go there?" Sean is quiet for a moment. "You trust Clint. You trust that he won't let you drown. You go to that dark place, that quiet place, and you trust that he'll pull you back when it's over. That's why he's different from other directors. Other directors want the performance. Clint wants the truth. And he protects you while you're finding it." Over the next few weeks, Ryan watches Clint work with the entire cast. He sees the same pattern again and again. Actors coming in with big performances, lots of emotion, lots of technique. And Clint quietly stripping it all away, not with long notes or detailed direction, usually with just a sentence, sometimes just a look. He watches Clint work with Sean Penn on the scene where Jimmy confronts Dave. It's a huge scene. Lots of anger, lots of accusation. Sean comes in, hot, aggressive, loud. Clint watches one take and says, "You're too angry to be scary." Sean does it again, quieter, more controlled. And it's terrifying. Because real violence isn't loud. It's quiet. It's the calm before the storm. It's the man who has decided to do something terrible and has made peace with that decision. He watches Clint work with Tim Robbins on Dave's confession scene. Tim is playing it fragile, broken, emotional. Clint watches and says, "You're apologizing. Stop apologizing." Tim does it again. No apology. No plea for understanding. Just a man stating facts. And it's heartbreaking because there's no defense, no justification, just truth. Ryan begins to understand that Clint Eastwood directs the way he acts, with silence, with restraint, with the understanding that power comes from what you don't do, not what you do. Every word is chosen carefully because words matter. Every gesture is minimal because truth doesn't need embellishment. Every moment of silence carries more weight than any dialogue. On the last day of Ryan's shoot, Clint finds him on set. Ryan is packing up his things, getting ready to leave. Clint walks over, that same unhurried walk, that same unreadable expression. "You did good work," Clint says. It's not effusive praise. It's not a long speech about potential and growth. It's just a simple statement. But coming from Clint Eastwood, it means everything. "Thank you," Ryan says. Then, because he needs to know, because it's been haunting him for weeks, he asks, "How did you know that I wasn't sad enough to be quiet?" "How did you see that?" Clint thinks for a moment. "Because I've been there. I've been so sad I couldn't speak. So angry, I went silent. So scared, I stopped moving." Real emotion makes you smaller, not bigger. It turns you inward. It strips everything away until there's just you and the feeling and nothing else. That's truth. Everything else is performance. He starts to walk away, then stops and turns back. Most actors spend their whole careers learning how to do more. You just learned how to do less. Don't forget that. Don't let Hollywood teach you bad habits again. Stay quiet, stay small, stay true. And then he's gone, just like that. No lingering goodbye, no emotional moment, just those final words and then absence. That's Clint Eastwood. He appears, changes everything, and disappears. Like a ghost who teaches you truths you'll carry forever. Mystic River premieres in October 2003. The reviews are extraordinary. Sean Penn wins the Academy Award for Best Actor. The film is nominated for 6 Oscars. It becomes one of the most acclaimed films of the decade, and Ryan Philippe's performance, though not the lead, is praised for its authenticity, for its restraint, for its quiet devastation. But Ryan knows the truth. He knows that performance didn't come from him. It came from 7 words, from a lesson taught by a man who understood that real emotion doesn't announce itself. It doesn't perform. It exists in the silence between words. In the moment before tears. In the stillness before collapse. Years later, Ryan is teaching a masterclass on acting. A young actor asks him about his process, about how he prepares for emotional scenes. Ryan thinks about all the techniques he learned: emotional memory, sense memory, substitution. All the tools actors use to manufacture feeling. Then he thinks about that day on the soundstage, about Clint Eastwood watching him cry and scream for 17 takes, about those 7 words that changed everything, about the moment he stopped trying to show emotion and started actually feeling it. "The best direction I ever received," Ryan says, "was from Clint Eastwood. We were doing this devastating scene, and I was giving it everything, crying, screaming, really going for it. And Clint walked over and said, 'You're not sad enough to be quiet.' That's it. That's all he said. And I suddenly understood that I'd been doing it wrong my entire career. I was showing people I was sad. I was demonstrating emotion. But real sadness doesn't perform. It goes silent, it goes inward, it disappears." The young actors in the class look confused. One raises his hand. "But how do you play silence? How do you act nothing?" Ryan smiles, the same smile Sean Penn gave him years ago when he asked the same question. "You don't act nothing. You remove everything that isn't real. You stop protecting yourself. You stop managing the emotion. You just let it be." And that's terrifying because it means losing control. But that's also where truth lives, in the moments where you're not in control, where you're just existing in the feeling. But what if you go too far? Another actor asks. What if you get lost in it? That's what the director is for. That's what Clint understood. He knew I could go to that dark place because he was there to pull me back. He created an environment where it was safe to be unsafe, where it was okay to break because he would help me put myself back together. That's what great directors do. They ask you to jump off the cliff, and they promise to catch you. Ryan continues teaching, but he never forgets that lesson. Every role he takes, every scene he plays, he hears Clint's voice. You're not sad enough to be quiet. It becomes his North Star, his reminder that less is more, that truth is quiet, that the most powerful moments are often the smallest ones. He starts turning down roles that require him to be big, loud, performative. He looks for characters who live in the silence, who carry pain quietly, who understand that the most devastating emotions are the ones you can barely speak. His career shifts. He stops being the pretty young actor with the big emotional moments. He becomes something else, something deeper, a character actor who understands restraint, who knows that power comes from what you don't show. Directors start to notice. They start to seek him out for roles that require subtlety, nuance, control. They know that Ryan Philippe understands something fundamental about human behavior, that real people don't perform their emotions. They live them, and living them often means containing them, holding them, letting them exist without announcement. In interviews, people ask Ryan about his evolution as an actor, about how he went from teen heartthrob to serious character actor. And he always tells the same story. About Clint Eastwood, about 17 takes of the same scene, about 7 words that changed everything, about learning that acting isn't addition, it's subtraction. It's not about doing more, it's about revealing truth. Some interviewers don't understand. They think it's a nice story, but they don't grasp the depth of it. They think Clint just gave him a line reading, a technical note about playing a scene quieter. But Ryan knows it was more than that. It was a philosophy, a way of understanding human behavior, a recognition that the most profound moments in life are often the quietest ones. When your child is born and you hold them for the first time, you don't scream with joy. You go quiet with awe. When someone tells you they love you and you realize you love them back, you don't shout. You whisper. When you lose someone you love, really lose them forever, you don't wail. You go silent because words don't exist for that kind of pain. That's what Clint understood. That's what he tried to teach every actor he worked with. That cinema at its best captures those quiet moments, those small, devastating, beautiful truths that exist between words. That the camera sees everything, and it sees truth more clearly than we realize. That you can't hide behind performance because the camera will find what's real and what's fake. So you might as well just be real. Ryan Philippe never became a megastar. He never won an Oscar. He never became a household name the way some of his contemporaries did. But he became something better. He became an actor who understood his craft, who knew that greatness isn't about being seen, it's about being true, who learned from Clint Eastwood that the most powerful thing an actor can do is get out of the way and let the truth exist. On a soundstage in Burbank in 2003, Clint Eastwood said 7 words. 7 words that stripped away years of training, years of bad habits, years of performance. 7 words that revealed a fundamental truth about acting, about emotion, about being human. You're not sad enough to be quiet. And Ryan Philippe never recovered from those words. He couldn't go back to the way he was before, couldn't unsee what Clint showed him, couldn't unlearn the lesson. He was changed, fundamentally, permanently changed, and that change made him a better actor, a truer actor, an actor who understood that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is nothing at all. Just silence, just stillness, just the quiet truth of a human being experiencing something too big for words. That's the legacy of Clint Eastwood, not the films he made, though those matter, not the awards he won, though those are impressive, but the actors he changed, the people he taught, the truths he revealed. He didn't do it with long speeches or complex theories. He did it with silence, with restraint, with carefully chosen words that cut through everything unnecessary and revealed what was real. 7 words. That's all it took. Because when you understand truth as deeply as Clint Eastwood does, you don't need many words. You just need the right ones, spoken at the right moment, to someone ready to hear them. And then you walk away and let those words do their work. Let them haunt and teach and change. Let them become the kind of lesson that an actor carries forever. The kind of wisdom that doesn't just make you better at your craft. It makes you more human, more honest, more true. Ryan Philippe learned that lesson, and he never forgot it. Every time he starts to perform, every time he starts to show emotion instead of being emotion, he hears Clint's voice. Quiet, steady, unshakable. You're not sad enough to be quiet. And he stops. He empties. He becomes still. And in that stillness, truth emerges. Small and quiet and devastatingly real. That's what Clint Eastwood taught him. That's what Clint teaches everyone who's wise enough to listen. That less is more. That silence speaks. That the quietest moments are often the truest ones. That you don't have to announce your emotions. You just have to let them exist. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. Just be, just exist. Just let the truth of what you're feeling be enough. Because it is enough. It's always enough. You just have to be quiet enough to realize it.